What's up, amazing humans? Welcome to Moment of Clarity. I'm glad you're taking the time to join me. We're going to talk soft coups, U.S. backed, of course, soft coups. We're going to talk terrorist attacks and the cause thereof. We're going to talk baby formula because I know you think soft coups, you think terrorist attacks, you think what about baby formula? Let's get into baby formula as well. If we're going to talk about terrorist attacks that killed thousands, let's talk about baby formula. I know you're thinking that as well. We're going to get into all those things, maybe even a little more, depending on what time will allow. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for being a part of this. Please hit subscribe. Please share. Please leave a comment. Please leave a thumbs up or an elbow as they, because it's on YouTube, it's thumbs up, I believe, on and Facebook, it's thumbs up. But then if you follow me on the Wigglebots, it's elbows. So give me 2 elbows up there. I made up that website. So thank you for joining me. As per usual, per usual, I will do the first 15 minutes for all of these live streams. Actually, I have to go live on Rockfin as well. I'll do the first 15, 20. Well, we'll see how we're feeling, but roughly around there, I'll be live on all those. And then at around 15, 20, it'll just continue on rumble.com/Lee Camp, the one site that promises never to censor me, that and locals. So if you want to become a supporter, leecamp.locals.com. I'll talk more about that later. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Please share it. And let's get into it, though. I don't know which topic to start with, but I guess I'll start with this one. I am surprised we have not heard very much coverage of this. I mean, actually, I'm not. Who am I kidding? Of course, I'm not surprised. But there's new documents relating to 9/11 that if anyone like in our mainstream media actually cared or gave a shit, gave just the tiniest tip of a turd, then this would be like fucking 24/7 coverage on all of your media. Instead, it's a blip. There's been a blip of coverage of new documents. So I'm going to show you from Business Insider. I'm going to show you what they said about it. Now I count them as mainstream media, but this is one article, and it's not full coverage. This is how our mainstream media actually addresses something and then moves on from it because they don't really want to talk about it. Is to go, yeah, well, here we wrote that one article, and then they move on. But this should be fucking wall-to-wall coverage. Instead, and by the way, I know I teased it, but I didn't give a lot of information. But the soft coup we were talking about will be Pakistan. I know it happened like a week ago or something, but there's new information and there's a timeline of it and everything. And it's related to Ukraine. It's related to Russia. It all links in there. And I don't know if you'd be shocked that the U.S. played a role. I don't know if that's going to blow your pants off. Anyway, let's get back to 9/11 and these documents. So basically, these documents were forced to be revealed. And I'm going to show you this from Business Insider, but it's text only because that was the only way I could get through the paywall was to get a text only version. So that's why it looks like somebody's shitty blog. All right. So the title of the article is Declassified FBI Memo Confirms Direct Connection Between Saudi Government and 9/11. But when you get into the details of it, it's pretty goddamn mind-blowing. I mean, not that most people watch this right now, you were like, yeah, I knew Saudi Arabia was involved in this shit. But to see the evidence, to see the proof, to see literally drawings of planes hitting buildings is still mind-blowing. All right, so I'll read some of this. For more than 20 years, successive U.S. presidents have given Saudi Arabia a pass on the question of whether the kingdom's government had anything to do with the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Now, many of you know, sorry to interrupt already, but many of you know why that is. The reason the U.S. has given Saudi Arabia a pass, not just because they're an ally, not just because we have massive weapons contracts with them, but because they are crucial to the Bretton Woods system. the petrodollar, which gives America essentially all of our power, or most of our power. The petrodollar, the reserve currency of the world, which I've talked about how right now we're seeing kind of an economic World War III that is, well, yeah, World War III, but economic, that is splitting apart the petrodollar hegemony. I've talked about that in past videos, but the Bretton Woods system, the system that gives America our power, and the central banking system that gives America our power, is contingent on Saudi Arabia and OPEC. Basically always saying that the oil will be in the petrodollar, will be in US dollars. That's how it will be sold back and forth. And that's why it is so threatening, and it's had such a big impact that Russia has said that in order for them to sell oil to Europe, Russia has responded to our sanctions on them by saying Europe has to pay in rubles, which has had this cascading effect that is impacting many nations around the world. I've gotten into that in past videos, but Saudi Arabia has incredible power over the United States. Not just are they an ally and, they help us keep all the countries in check in that region that we want to, but they help us, ostensibly protect Israel from attacks and things like that. But more importantly, the petrodollar wouldn't exist without Saudi Arabia. So we can't go hard on them. The United States can't go hard on them because we have to bend over backwards to be like, oh, yeah, no, just keep the petrodollar. Whatever you need to do. If you have to chop up a Washington Post journalist and throw him in a barbecue pit, fine with it. Not gonna make much of a difference, right? That's what they did to Jamal Khashoggi. Anyway, let's get back to this. So, for more than 20 years, blah, 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 terrorist attacks. As the story goes, plenty of individual Saudis were involved, including 15 of the 19 hijackers and Osama bin Laden. But there was no evidence to indicate that the Saudi government itself was behind the attacks. And by the way, and I know some of you probably are talking about this in the comment section or whatever, but I think it's without a doubt that the U.S. government knew this attack or something similar was going to happen, and they knew it could be useful to them, so they were fine with it. We know about the report given to Bush saying bin Laden determined to attack within the U.S. We know that the CIA and the FBI were monitoring these hijackers, so we know they knew something was coming, if not that specific attack. And so you can say that in a way that is, cooperation in it if you sit there and allow it to happen. This article does not get into that at all because Business Insider is not going to talk about the U.S. government knowing that 9/11 is about to happen. But I still think there's a lot of important information in this. So let's keep going. As the story goes, plenty of individual Saudis were involved, 15 and 19 hijackers, but there was no evidence to indicate that the Saudi government itself was behind the attacks. That's more or less what the 9/11 Commission concluded, and the Saudi government continues to cite the Commission's report in official statements as proof that Saudi Arabia had nothing to do with this terrible crime. And by the way, keep in mind that the day after 9/11, when no planes were in the sky in America, not a single plane, except for the planes ushering Saudis out of the country, ushering a high-level Saudis, the high-level bin Laden family people out of the country in order to protect them. So that's how knitted together the U.S. government and these Saudis are. When no planes are allowed in the sky, we still had planes in the sky to protect these high-level Saudis. In its report, the commission took particular pains not to implicate Omar al-Bayoumi, a Saudi national who met two of the 9/11 hijackers in Los Angeles shortly after they arrived in the U.S. Bayoumi then helped them to move to San Diego, as you do. Sometimes you just help a buddy and you're like, hey, man, I'm glad we're friends. What do you do? Like, what's your passion in life? And he's like, flying planes into buildings and killing lots of people. Oh, that's so cool, man. I wanted to do that as a kid and I just gave up my dreams because, my mom kept being like, hey, you should become a doctor. And I was like, all right. You know how it is, right? You help a brother move, especially when they happen to be a professional hijacker. So he helped him move to San Diego, where he signed as guarantor on an apartment they rented. You know how it is. You just help some people out that you have no idea what they're up to, what they're doing with their life, right? You never ask, hey, why is it you keep going to flying lessons but aren't concerned with the landing or the takeoff? Why is that? Why, that never comes up in conversation. None of it. No, just, oh, you want me to guarantee your apartment? Meaning if you skip out on a year's worth of rent, I'm going to cover it. Because why not? But we hardly know each other, right? I barely know the guy. I had no idea he was going to fly those planes in those buildings. I just wanted to cover the rent on his apartment, which, by the way, I do owe because I don't think he's going to get to that now, considering the whole dying with the plane and the crashing and the such. So, unfortunately, I'm on the hook for that apartment. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, but I just helping a brother out. Bayoumi, please hold. Bayoumi has long maintained that he met the hijackers by coincidence. You know how it is. We were at a hijackers meetup. We were at, it's a bowling night, and we go, and it's if you're interested in hijacking, fan of hijacking, like when things blow things up. You don't even have to be a hijacker if you just really like explosions. There's a bowling night, and we get together, and we're not very good. We're not very good, except for Anwar Al-Awlaki. He was fucking, that guy bowled a 250 once. Just amazing what that guy could do. Anyway, Bayoumi has long maintained that he met the hijackers by coincidence, a claim the commission did little to contradict. I mean, look, in every way, the 9/11 Commission was pathetic, and it was on the level of the Warren Commission, the one that looked into the JFK assassination and was headed by the guy who probably called for the assassination of JFK, was headed by Dulles, who fucking was the head of the CIA. JFK fired him as head. Do you know the balls it takes to fire the head of the CIA? He fired him, but the CIA higher echelon were still reporting to him anyway, so it didn't really change things. And then the Warren Commission is put together to look into the death of JFK, and they put Dulles as the lead of it, as the head of the Warren Commission. Yeah, you think they got to the bottom of that one? So the 9/11 Commission, same shit. They didn't want to find the truth. They had no interest in it. They had interest in protecting the American empire. That is what these oligarchs do. They protect the American empire. Whether that particular group on the 9/11 Commission had any knowledge of what was about to happen on 9/11 or what really happened doesn't really matter. The point is, they were there in that room writing that report to protect the American empire. End of story. And to protect the petrodollar, which, guess who is behind the petrodollar? Saudi Arabia. Without them, we're fucked. So the commission instead painted a mostly innocuous portrait of Bayoumi's background, concluding that he was in the U.S. as a business student and that he worked for the Saudi Civil Aviation Authority. Yeah, he was a business. Okay. Hey, he was a business student, but apparently guaranteeing other people's rent. That's a good business move. Other people interested in crashing planes, I'm going to guarantee their rent. Why wouldn't I? Who wouldn't pay their rent, right? Yeah, sure, they're into crashing planes, but they got to pay their rent. But then secondly, was part of the Saudi Civil Aviation Authority. What? So the guy who's working for the Saudi Civil Aviation Authority guarantees the rent of the would-be hijackers, not seeing any connection there. No one thinking it seems a lot to do with planes, a lot to do with flying planes and maybe not flying them. Okay, so he says, so then this is a quote from Philip Zelikow. He says, who was part of the commission, he says, I don't believe he was a Saudi government agent working to help terrorists. The 9/11 Commission's executive director, Philip Zelikow, says in response to questions from a journalist in 2007. Okay, Philip Zelikow, I happen to know that name because he is a professor at University of Virginia, where I went to school, and he is like the king of neoliberals. All right, he is neoliberal garbage through and through. And so he worked for various administrations in the U.S. Government, and there's no one more dedicated to protecting the American war state than Philip Zelikow. So that guy can go fuck himself. And the fact that he doesn't believe he was a Saudi government agent, yeah, and I don't believe anything you ever say. So there's that. But over the past several months, a raft of new documents released by the American and British governments suggested that the 9/11 Commission got it wrong. What? How could they have got it wrong? They were just a group of government stooges designed to protect the American government and the American empire. Why would they get it wrong? An FBI memo declassified in March in response to an executive order by Joe Biden reported that Bayoumi was receiving a monthly stipend from Saudi intelligence. And by the way, you may be remembering the 28 pages, the redacted 28 pages from the commission report, a full 28 pages redacted, that came out and finally was revealed several years ago, like 5 years ago, something like that. And I covered it at the time. And the 28 pages revealed the connections to the Saudi government, but it didn't say this part. So this is another step on top of the 28 pages, showing even more connection to the Saudi government in 9/11. So you may be hearing this and going, wait, didn't we get that from the 28 pages? Well, we got closer in the 28 pages, and now we have even more that proves the Saudi government was involved. An FBI memo declared, In other words, so Bayoumi, the FBI memo that was declassified just the other day shows that Bayoumi was receiving a monthly stipend from Saudi intelligence. So think about how clear these connections are between Saudi intelligence and Bayoumi, who guaranteed the rent and was friends with two of the hijackers. This is a Saudi spy who is getting paid by Saudi intelligence, is friends with the hijackers, and guaranteeing their rent. It's like a direct, they didn't even do a good job of covering it up. It's like a direct two-person, I mean, it's once you see the memos and it's obvious. So the Business Insider article says, in other words, Bayoumi was not a student, but a spy. According to the FBI memo dated June 14th, 2017, Bayoumi was tasked with gathering information, quote, on persons of interest in the Saudi community and passing the intelligence to Prince Bandar bin Sultan Al Saud, the Saudi ambassador at the time. Allegations of al-Bayoumi's involvement with Saudi intelligence were not confirmed at the time of the 9/11 Commission report, writes the memo's author, an FBI special agent on the Bureau's Washington field office whose name is redacted. The above information confirms those allegations. A second declassified FBI memo shows that a confidential source told the FBI there was a 50-50 chance that Bayoumi had advanced knowledge of the 9/11 attacks and assisted the two hijackers while residing in San Diego. It's not a 50-50 chance. It's a 100% chance. 100% chance this guy knew the attack was happening, helped with it, and actually I will get to even more on that in a second. While U.S. intelligence agencies have repeatedly concluded that Saudi government as a whole had no advanced knowledge of the 2001 plot, right, just like the U.S. government had no advanced knowledge of the 2001 plot, they have flagged specific Saudi agencies and members of the royal family as having ties to al-Qaeda. Last year, newly declassified FBI files complicated another crucial piece of Bayoumy's narrative, suggesting that his initial meeting with the two hijackers had been arranged by contacts at the Saudi consulate in Los Angeles. So now he has even more connections to the Saudi government. This is the Saudi government fully understanding what is happening and helping helping it happen. Now, if you wanted to get really conspiratorial beyond just what the proof is here, and I don't think I've seen any evidence of this, but you wouldn't be you wouldn't be remiss to at least float it as a possible idea, is that the U.S. government and the Saudi government are so close. I mean, they are bedfellows. And now that we know the Saudi government was involved in 9/11, you would not be crazy to bring up the question, well, did the U.S. government and Saudi Arabia discuss this in any way before it happened? I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying you wouldn't be crazy for maybe thinking that. Let's see. While U.S. intelligence agencies have repeatedly concluded that they had no knowledge, they flagged specific Saudi agencies and members of the royal family had ties. Last year, I already did that part. But a second raft of documents released by the British government last week in response to a civil lawsuit against the Saudi government by families of 9/11 victims points to the possibility that Bayoumi knew about the attacks. It's not a possibility. The guy was a fucking aviation expert and he guaranteed the rent of the two hijackers. Points to the possibility that Bayoumi knew about the attacks before they took place. Among Bayoumi's papers was a diagram depicting a plane descending toward a target on the horizon. Okay, if you're an aviation expert and you aren't involved in hijackings, your goal is to have planes not hit buildings. That's like your main shit. Like, if you're in the aviation agency of any country, and you're not involved in hijacking and fucking kamikaze missions, then you spend all of your time trying to make sure planes are not hitting each other or buildings. This guy's drawing like mathematical images of a plane hitting buildings. So here's the diagram. Besides the diagram is a formula used to calculate the distance to the target. I'll give you a second to process that. Sorry, dry throat. All right. Beside the diagram, a formula used to calculate the distance. The diagram was seized by British police in late 2001, but its existence wasn't noted until 2007, 3 years after the 9/11 Commission issued its. That's some great police work right there. You grab a diagram of someone you're already interviewing about this shit. You grab a diagram that he has and he knew the hijackers, showing a plane hitting a building, and you don't think, maybe you run that up the ladder? Maybe. Hey, Chief, you want to look at this? Hey, Sarge. He's got a diagram of a plane hitting a building. He's also got a formula for how to make it hit the building. Should we chit-chat about this? Anybody? No? Yeah. You know what? I'll just put it in storage. Sarge, you're busy. Listen, I see you making your coffee over there, and I know it's a process. You do the milk and the sugar and then a little bit of honey, and you mix like the decaf with the calf, so you get like a perfect caffeination formula you have going there, and I don't want to interrupt. So I'm just going to file this down in the stacks, down in the evidence room, which is roughly the size of 3 football fields. I'm just going to, you know what? I'm not even going to put it in a box. I'm just going to slide it under other boxes of unrelated content. Because I think that's what we need to do. Because you look busy. I don't know what your caffeination formula is. I don't know why you don't go full calf. But listen, you do your thing. I'm going to do mine. I'm just going to go hide this under those boxes. Just to make sure we have it for later. For safekeeping. For safekeeping. The diagram was seized by British police. God damn it, I keep reading the same line. The evidence declassified by the British government also includes videos showing Bayoumi filming himself and his circle during his time in San Diego. One shows him embracing Anwar al-Awlaki, the local imam at the time who had ties to Al Qaeda. Uh, like Bayoumi, Al-Awlaki was close to the hijackers. In 2011, he was killed by a U.S. drone strike in Yemen. Yes, keep that in mind. We killed him with a drone strike. The guy had never done a terrorist act. He just was friends with these people. But then on top of that, we murdered his son in a drone bombing, 16-year-old son in a drone bombing, who had no connection to any of this other than being his son. That's it. Good old US of A. We'll just drone bomb anybody tangentially related to shit we didn't like and their children, because why not? You got extra drone bombs sitting around the warehouse. What are you going to do with them? I'm saying just drop them on people's kids. Why not? We are the fucking mafia. How do people not realize the US government is mafia? Like, I love the idea that we got rid of the mafia or there isn't any mafia in America. No, the U.S. government just became the mafia and fucking arrested their competition, which happened to be the Italian mafia or whatever, Russian mob, any other mobs. That was their competition. They weren't getting rid of corruption and crime. They were getting rid of their competition. Jesus. So this guy's running around filming himself. Hey, we're getting ready to do this terrorist act, but I'm going to want a video of us hanging out, okay? Because you guys are going to be famous soon. And I want to know, I knew you when. I knew you back when you were still alive. I want a video of that. So he's filming himself dancing around with these people. In 2011, Al-Awlaki was killed by a drone. A second video shows Khalid Al-Minhar, one of the two San Diego hijackers, in the kitchen of the apartment that Bayoumi helped him rent. So these guys are besties that met by accident, by coincidence. Saudi Arabia was absolutely involved in 9/11. And I've done other videos that you are welcome to go check out about Building 7 and the questions around that, which are immense. But, every year we get a little bit closer to saying, oh, so Saudi Arabia knew about and facilitated 9/11. The U.S. is a close ally of Saudi Arabia, and we depend on them for the petrodollar, among other things. Do you think there's any connection here? Also, Bush had statements and papers and everything showing that this was going to happen. Do you think there might have been some foreknowledge of something like this going down, and it might be useful to the U.S. In some way? Is that possible? No, couldn't be. All right, so I've gone on longer than I should have for the full stream. This part of it goes out to everybody. I'm going to continue this stream just at rumble.com/Lee Camp. It is free to watch there. All you got to do is rumble.com/Lee Camp. It's free to comment over there as well. And I hope you will join over there, become a subscriber at Rumble. They don't, unlike YouTube, Rumble doesn't censor when they let people know about my live streams. They will let you know when I'm going live, when I'm doing videos. So I'm about to continue this. We got another half hour left, so don't go away. Please join me over at rumble.com/Lee Camp right now. And talk amongst yourselves while I fix the streams here.